In some ways, the most revealing moment amid all the reaction to Donald Trump's conviction yesterday, which really flew under the radar, was an exchange online between one moderate Republican and the Trump campaign worker. It started with former Maryland Republican Governor Larry Hogan. He's now running for Senate in that state, and he left office, very popular in Maryland, a very blue state, and his presence in the race as the Republican nominee creates a real issue for the Democrats. It expands the map for Republicans. Democrats now have to spend money on that race. Obviously, a guy like that is going to have to distance himself from Trump, who's very unpopular in Maryland. And so he sent out a very carefully worded post saying, quote, "Regardless of the result, I urge all Americans to respect the verdict and the legal process." And you see how deft this was when you look at the timestamp, 4:52 p.m., right in the sweet spot, minutes after it was announced that a verdict had been reached, but several minutes before the verdict was read. This was the response Larry Hogan received from a top Trump campaign official, Chris LaCivita. "You just ended your campaign. You, Republican governor, who dared to speak the very basic American tenet before a verdict, we should respect the legal process. You are done." This was just part of the sort of mob-style pressure campaign on Republicans to stand behind the felony-convicted candidate. Here's Laura Ingraham on Trump TV.
I can't help but notice, and maybe it's changed over the last few minutes, of the people who haven't come out to condemn what happened in Lower Manhattan. I haven't heard from Mitch McConnell again, unless it was in the last 20 minutes. Mitch McConnell stands up with the rule of law and all these great judicial picks, and silence.
Lo and behold, almost an hour and a half later, Mitch McConnell dutifully put out his statement. These charges never should have been brought in the first place. I expect the conviction to be overturned on appeal. This enforcement operation is happening because the Trump people and the Fox people and most of the people in the upper echelons of the party understand the only way to really bring Trump down to end his political career is if Republicans turn against him. As long as they stay unified, no matter what he does, no matter how abhorrent or how dangerous or how criminal or how vile, no matter how much of a threat he is to the nation, if they all band together, then in a polarized landscape, they could basically keep him afloat and make it essentially a coin toss. That is why they dressed up like him during the trial, have rushed to debase themselves in cringe-inducing fashion on any live TV camera they can find.
So this is like the Soviet-style thing. Show me the person, and I'll show you the crimes.
This was a political smear job. This was an attack job. This is what you see in banana republics.
This is the quintessential show trial. This is what you see in communist countries. This is the most outrageous travesty I've ever seen. And the problem here is Democrats have crossed this line.
This is a justice system that hunts Republicans while protecting Democrats. This was certainly a hoax, a sham.
Brian, yesterday was a sad day for America. You had a partisan witch hunt in New York.
This is a total travesty. I mean, we should not mince any words here. This is an extremely dangerous day for our country.
Do we want to become a country where we try to jail our political opponents?
The justices on the court, I know many of them personally, I think they're deeply concerned about that as we are. So I think they'll set this straight.
There have only been two times in Trump's political career where that dynamic of Republican unanimity is broken, where Trump was near political death. So one was in the aftermath of January 6th, the violent assault on the Capitol that he stirred up, when everyone was criticizing him, when the blood was still on the floor of the Capitol, including Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy. Remember that? Trump's approval rating dropped below 40%, just about the lowest level it reached. Mitch McConnell was testing the waters for a vote for an impeachment conviction. If it had not been for that man, Mitch McConnell's abject, enduringly pathetic cowardice, and McCarthy's relentless quest to have the third shortest speakership in history, not to mention the legitimate fear Republican senators had for their families about violence, we wouldn't have this issue now. They could have just voted to convict him and bar him from future office. Done. Ironically enough, the other time, the other sort of near political death experience was in the wake of the Access Hollywood tape. And just about every elected Republican tried to distance themselves and criticize him. Republican National Committee Chair Reince Priebus was even considering how to get him off the ticket. But Trump managed to hold things together, due in no small part to the fact that right at that moment, he got a guy named Michael Cohen, his lawyer, to pay to keep the porn star from talking. And so the Republicans never heard about that story, nor did the public, which could have been the political death blow. The lesson he learned is if you enforce this totalitarian unanimity, you can keep chugging along. It's a wildly dangerous lesson because they will do this no matter what he does and no matter how bad it gets. Christy Greenberg is the former deputy chief of the criminal division for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. Danya Perry also serves as prosecutor for the Southern District of New York, and she represented Michael Cohen during this trial, and they join me now. I want to start with you, Danya, in sort of both of those roles. We had you on last night as Michael Cohen's attorney, and obviously you know these criminal justice system very well. We were going back and forth today internally on whether the gag order is still in effect. Do you know if it is or not?
Great question. Michael called me today and he said, I think Trump just violated the gag order. He's calling me a sleazeball and all manner of things. And I had to look it up. It seems that Justice Merchan has not lifted it, so it is still in place and will remain so until either he loses jurisdiction on appeal or he lifts it.
So that's your understanding?
That is my
that it is, because he clearly was attacking Michael Cohen as one of the witnesses. Now, there's some people who say the gag order is there to preserve the integrity of the trial. The trial's over, so maybe it's gone. But your understanding is that it's still in effect.
I had thought that was the purpose was you don't want to infect the jurors or the jury pool before they're impaneled. You don't want to intimidate the witnesses. So in some logical way, you think, well, it's done when the trial's done. But no, there still is a sentencing. There still is this maybe just like a penumbra or a cloud that still hangs over. I mean, I think that there's, passions are inflamed for sure, anger around the country. And so I know personally from Michael's experience and even derivatively from my own that there is a tremendous amount of rancor, to say the least, out there that is still directed at the trial witnesses and no doubt at the jurors were they to their anonymity to be lost, which that will remain in place, of course.
Yes, although there was some reporting today of certain message boards that are, fans of the former president attempting to dox them and trying to get people to go after them. Let's talk brass tacks here, Christy, on the what happens next. So a lot of questions about sentencing. I mean, I guess the first question is, okay, so we're going to, that sentencing on July 11th might get pushed back a little bit, but it's probably going to happen sometime this summer. What do you think's reasonable? Just level set for us. If you were working in that office to ask for, or for a judge to grant for a sentence here.
Well, the first thing they're going to do is look at what probation recommends in their report.
Which is, I mean, that's going to happen probably in the next few weeks, that he's going to sit down with a probation officer?
Yes.
Presumably in New York?
Yes.
Sitting there next to the Secret Service. I mean,
presumably
seriously,
so, yes.
With the PO there.
Right.
And the PO saying, so where were you? What was your last job? I mean, right? I'm doing a bit, but that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
And they will go through all of their standard questions, though, again, so much of it is public knowledge with him. So maybe a bit redundant, but they will go through that process with him, and then they will come up with their recommendation. The parties will both get a copy of that report. Generally, that report is not made public, though you will see snippets of that report in both of the briefings from either side when they quote to that report.
And the report will generate a recommendation?
Yes.
Like a top line, like 4 months or time served or home confinement or whatever.
Yes. I mean, that's typically what you see.
That's the basic text. That's the template.
Yes. And so again, but neither party is, neither party needs to follow that. But generally, the court does give that a fair amount of weight because they tend to be more neutral. So both parties will look at that. They will then decide, look, I think in this circumstance, I mean, in terms of thinking of what a fair sentence here would be, one thing that you look at, one factor is relative culpability, right? So Michael Cohen has already been sentenced for the same thing, and he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Now, granted, he was also sentenced for other crimes and not just this one.
Right.
However, that was part of the sentence. And during that sentence, Judge Pauley said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but, that those campaign finance violations were a danger to democracy. And they were serious enough for him to use that kind of language. And we heard that same language in the closing here, where Joshua Steinglass said, you heard from Todd Blanche that just influencing an election, that conspiring to do that, that's democracy. No, this was subversion of democracy, right? We need the electorate to be informed, to have access to accurate information, and this was an attempt to defraud the voters. And so when you have that same language mirroring in a sentence of someone who is, I think, admittedly less culpable than the person he was doing this at the direction of, it's hard to see how the prosecutors would not ask for prison here.
What do you think?
Can I just add in? Yeah, another thing the judge looks at is comparators. So they look at other sentences that other like defendants have received, not just in this case, Michael Cohen, as you say, but other defendants who've been convicted
defrauding business records and things like that. Right?
And I looked at this. I co-authored a white paper for the Brookings Institution, and we looked at hundreds of other sentences. And
coming out of New York.
Coming out of New York for the exact same crime. And always with a bump up to a felony in this case. And people get prison terms, not just, even first-time offenders. Even, for the same type of crime, they will get a prison term. In this case, we have someone who subverted an election, as the jury found, and also has not only been unrepentant, of course, he didn't plead guilty to this, he was convicted, but he has constantly thumbed his nose at this judge and the system and has been contemptuous.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, my feelings about prison are, I think we wildly over-incarcerate. We have wildly too long sentences. We far fewer people, and the American sentencing system is pretty messed up. So my desire to see him go to prison or jail is zero. I will say it's interesting that you note that, and I've been seeing this cavalcade of rich men, generally Elon Musk and others, being like, can you imagine? I mean, this is nuts. Someone going to jail for this? And it's like, yeah, dude, no, it actually does happen. I hate to break it to you. Christy Greenberg, Danya Perry, thank you both.